Good job, Jane, or Shane.
Trying. Do you guys see the LinkedIn?
No, I haven't.
All right, check her out.
I'm gonna have to, what was it, RETA 32 or?
Yeah, I sent it in an email. I know you've gotten tons of emails.
Hey, did you set up your own email for 32 or no?
No.
No,
We
I think we should.
Will phone.
Huh?
We took it over from Will. His name's in here quite a bit still, like a lot.
Oh,
I've been slowly but surely changing it.
much longer you got in harvest?
Thinking October 20th. Less than a little more than a month.
You running carrots or what?
Just corn.
Oh.
Yeah, I need a little ramen noodles.
Huh?
So I had me a little bit of ramen noodles.
Oh.
You guys are gonna make me feel guilty for taking my guys out to dinner before we came to each chapter meeting.
I'll feel guilty.
I don't feel guilty.
I enjoy it.
Armando's still in charge of the plant there?
Actually, yes, he is now the chief operating officer. He used to be raw product manager and in charge of the PSN program, but now he's actually the chief operating officer. They did some swap around in upper management here this last year, so. He's still managing all the grower contracts, that kind of stuff, but
Okay.
yeah.
Is Jake logged in?
No, I can't get I need the meeting started because I signed in on my Microsoft.
Oh,
I just need to start the meeting over the phone in the closet or something.
Did you get it, Shane?
Yeah, it's on.
Oh. So R3 is him?
That's us. And that's Jay, it's me. And we're waiting for him.
Okay.
Messed up on it on my first one. But.
Perfect. Tom from Quincy's there, right?
Are you there?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay.
We want to figure out how to. Is it TV?
No, it's just how it is, because we're doing Zoom and so I got Zoom kind of made so that
Yeah.
Microsoft, that's where he's gonna be sharing. Over he's sharing.
You know Dana?
Yep.
What do we got left?
$11,512.13.
We got a lot of money.
Last time we did red line was like 45 cents. So I'm sure the price went up, that probably a lot.
Maybe it's time.
I know. New Jersey. You saying in the wrong spot?
That's very good.
Oh.
Hell, there's. Over to me going.
Got hernia surgery. Got an infection for hernia surgery.
Oh, man. Feeling good, son?
Yeah.
You doing good?
The wound back there, I'm trying to make a hold of it.
He's got the right invite, right, Jane?
Yeah.
Okay. I sent him a text message.
It's,
There's nothing right in there.
no, let me try. By November test run product. December is on general, so. Impact.
Well, it's what's changed, you have this. Fire now, you have a couple of years before you have to do anything.
Yeah, we got a morning and. I mean, plan. Every time now. Whole bunch of stuff don't work.
Yeah. That was the time.
No, right now, like rulers and now that continuous pull down don't work, so. Our productivity is being high, so don't hold our manual blowing down, or this continuous pull down, leave it on 24 hours a day. It's there's still 3,000 productivity. And they want it at 1,200. Yeah. Yeah, then they were pushing us real hard to the boil. So me and my team that boilers up ground, we find out that they don't have the sun all set up. So we start
It's
saying,
cheaper to buy a softener than it is to buy a boiler.
yeah. So we've been running water to the softener. And so there's 3 softeners, we went to 2 of them, that's what we pulled together, so went to regen, we could, they had high wire, we were able to regenerate. But
For substance, so that.
yes, but that, they don't have that.
They're just running through the cells and cells.
Yeah.
That's gonna be stingy too.
And. I
It's the blood test, you know. But
I guess so, so.
They have a child,
But I guess so.
that's
And they need steam to test the peelers. So we did that. And then they were like, okay, just keep running. So we'll get like, we'll steam on. Just don't make steam running. It's good months. I'm like, you can push some gas. Water. What's the one thing that goes along with that? I'm not telling you.
No, he said he got his kids tonight. If go out doing something.
they're ready to start making. Sure, everything went right.
No, usually it's not turn out.
Yeah.
Robert's
Failed.
that was the
And all failed.
main guys out there.
Really? Medium pressure inside, and start
Huh.
blowing these valves everywhere.
They might, I'm surprised.
And then see all the contracts for it. It's our bad.
Fix it now.
What you guys got? Got Fisher. The medium pressure is being blown. Everybody running hot, like. Steam blowing now.
Mainstream isolation.
It's no one.
What in here?
This is like pros, although that takes forever. though.
Yeah. You just come direct from work, but yeah.
That's all I got. But I didn't put that.
Oh, there's a girl.
Nice.
Perfect. Hey, Jake. Can't hear him.
She got the room.
Hold on.
Get the remote.
He went to go get the TV remote. We can't hear you yet. Huh?
Yours isn't working either.
Jane was looking for you the other night.
Really quiet.
So can you hear us, Jake?
Cancellation.
Still not hearing, yeah, but you have him.
So.
We still can't hear you, so we're gonna try to work through that. Make sure you're not muted.
So these 5 seats right here, they can see.
So you want us to sit here
Yeah, so
or here? This next ship's gonna come?
yeah.
Oh, it's right there. Oh, yeah. Dang, it's loaded too. I heard that these Mountain Dews are like freaking, pretty much a cancer bomb.
The what?
The Mountain Dews.
Really?
Yeah.
So you snatched that right up, huh?
You got that something. I haven't drank a Mountain Dew since I heard that like 3 years ago.
Hey, can you guys hear me on this end?
I can.
Cool. Well, I guess we could do it from Zoom. I think we're just.
Can you hear us now, Jake?
Yeah, I can hear you guys. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we're gonna see if we can get the speaker on the TV. Can you speak really quick?
Test, test. Test. Hello.
Yeah, I can hear you. Or you're just on the computer speaker. That's the problem.
Gotcha.
I just have the wrong one.
Yeah, it is what it is today. Sorry.
Cool.
Can you guys hear him in the back? I want to get a little closer. Oh my God.
That's probably your problem is your HDMI cord.
Yeah, I think I just switched the button.
Change the channel.
The only thing is, I don't know if I can share my screen. If I join back through the Teams, would you be able to hear me now?
Maybe just.
What was that?
So you can join it.
Okay.
Those guys are from Quincy Foods.
Okay.
You'll still hear me?
Yeah, but now you're on my phone. I gotta get let me get this open.
Gotcha.
You're gonna thumbs up?
I think we might need to get it laptop.
Pardon me?
We might need to get a laptop after this.
Yep.
We can barely hear you guys.
Nice.
There's Mark has a new thing on this thing.
Yeah.
So you said you guys can barely hear us on Zoom?
Yeah.
Is the audio?
Do you know if you can make the Zoom so I can share from there? Is that any better?
If you can what?
The only thing with the Zoom is it wasn't letting me share my screen.
I think I can give you access for that, right?
Yeah. Okay. If you can do that, I'll join back with the Zoom and we'll rock from there.
All right, let's just go to Zoom.
I'm good.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm back. Just need access to share, and then I think we're good to go.
Can you see your screen?
I can see the RETA screen. I don't think I'm able to share yet.
Worst case, we have the PowerPoint here.
Do you have the PowerPoint?
I do.
Oh, okay. Guess he's got the PowerPoint below that.
Gotcha.
Yep. I'll guide you. Tell me when to switch.
And then push the computer audio button. It should go to the TV.
It's the evaporator. We can send you guys the PowerPoint too afterwards.
Recording in progress.
All right. Cool. So I guess we'll work off of this one. I have a newer one I can also send Dan after this that I created as well. Okay.
All right, sounds good. Everybody can hear, both sides, Zoom, in person.
Yeah, we'll work it out.
All right, the floor is yours.
All right, welcome everybody. Today is going to be a little bit of an overview on evaporator maintenance. This PowerPoint was put together by my predecessor, Corey Groves, but I am actually Jake Watson. I'm a marketing applications engineer at Evapco. And yeah, we'll start with the overview. So kind of the long and short of what we're going to go over today is we're going to look at the bill of material, what you can expect when your evaporator gets on site, kind of the initial unit inspection, the things to look for when your unit arrives on site. Additionally, we're going to look at ice buildup. Is there a little bit of feedback there, or?
No, you're good.
Okay, cool. So yeah, we're gonna look at the initial unit inspection, everything that's gonna kind of, you're gonna want to overview, look at what to not want when your unit arrives on site and that kind of thing, and how to know you're good to go. We're gonna look at ice buildup and how that causes vibration, or how that can also can lead to some structural concerns. It's also gonna look at the fans and how vibration particularly affects your fan assemblies and how that can be a little bit damaging, and how to avoid that. Additionally, just what all you get with your fans. We're also going to look at the
close. Don't worry about table.
Overview unit integrity. So the just how the unit can have the longest life possible, materials of construction, and then we're going to look at recommended cleaners. Next slide.
Next slide. Huh?
All right, so jumping into the bill of material.
So this is the bill of materials.
Yep. So looking at everything that'll arrive on site with your unit, you typically will, I'd say about 60% of the time will receive a galvanized evaporator from most manufacturers. The other material of construction we see is a stainless steel unit, so that'll usually match from your casing and fan. The other thing I like to point out here is sometimes in the past we've seen lighter commercialized units with some pieces of aluminum, but right now the industry standard currently sits around galvanized or stainless. The other thing to note is on the fins. So the big three that I'd say we see on the fin side are an aluminum standard fin. It can either be corrugated or just a flat fin, depending on your defrost pattern. Then if you're in an awful room or a little bit of a higher wash time requirement, you could get into an epoxy or a stainless fin. Looking at our motor options, the big thing to note is the IP rating of the motor. So if you were again in a high wash down environment, you're going to want to go for the highest IP 69 motor in your design, or just when you're doing your daily maintenance of the unit. You want to understand hey, I'm a little bit of a dirtier workspace where I'm having a lot of particulates in the air. How often do I have to clean this thing? And looking at what the O&M for that unit recommends. The other thing is also looking at the types of fans you have on the unit. So when your unit arrives, I'd say most of them are sheet metal or cast aluminum. But if you typically order a fully stainless unit and receive that on site, there's also a chance it could be stainless. The other thing I'd like to note here that isn't on this PowerPoint is EC fans are becoming a bigger thing on the West Coast as a whole. So the two main ones we're seeing in industry right now are an all-in-one assembly, or a WEG or equivalent motor that goes to an axial fan blade. So the big thing to know with that is, unless you've got a controls integrator providing a panel solution or whatever to kind of take care of the power, you will need to supply a 0 to 10 voltage direct current signal to have that wired up correctly. So those are the kind of the new kid on the block of fans. Next slide, please. Next, and kind of the final thing for the bill is your filter racks. So we see these again in environments with a lot of particulates in the air. You can either have a V bank or a flat rack. The thing to note with this is, when your unit arrives, when we get in the visual inspection section, knowing whether or not this is going to come assembled or, ship separate on the unit kind of depends on the unit size, if you're going V-bank or flat rack. So, if your units show up and you're not sure if there's another truck coming, if you have filter racks, there might be a chance you have a high quantity. Now, the other thing is, the filter types. So we have our disposable, uh, they have an X amount of years behind them, or the reusable kinds. So typically the disposable get, more in, the air handler realm with, some of those higher air filter ratings, but we do see the reusable sold occasionally as well. Next slide, please. And then this is just kind of a brief overview of the MERV ratings. So depending on, how how much stuff is in the air and how often you're looking at doing the cleaning of the unit. This is kind of a good reference for, how good your filter is going to be. And depending on, if you're going a pharmaceutical application or, a produce plant, whether or not you're even looking at, filters or where to go with that. Next slide, please. And now kind of, we've gone over everything from, we were selecting our unit. We were going over the history of, what we wanted. We've got it on site, Now, when the unit, arrives on the truck, what are we going to get into? The first thing I recommend, especially, coming from the manufacturer side of it, before that thing even gets off the truck, if you can, try and give it a once over, look, how's the fit and finish look? If it's shipped over the winter time without, shrink wrap, is there a road salt? Do we need to clean anything off? Um, I know, especially for a lot of manufacturers, it's typically coming from, one or two plants. So if especially in the Pacific Northwest or that kind of area, if it's traveling cross country to get to your job site, it usually is kind of worth it for the shrink wrap. Just, that way the end user doesn't have to worry about any, road salt damage or, visual defects on the unit. The other thing I like to note here is, if you can, before you get on the truck, just try and take photos. It's a good way to that way have that line of communication with, the manufacturer you're getting evaporator from of, hey, this is how it looked when it came to me. So that way we know if there's anything lost from when it's on that truck. Next slide, please. So, we've gotten it off the truck or, we're looking at it on the truck if we can. It's kind of like taking your kids to buy their first car. You want to make sure all the components and the bolts are securely fastened. So hopefully you're not buying a used evaporator, but you want to make sure that that unit is to the fit and finish you expect it to be. So no, loose doors or bolts or anything like that. No electrical components that are loose or potentially unwired when you expected them to be pre-wired. If you can, you want to rotate. It says fan motor and fan rotation, but that kind of goes together. So checking your fan rotation is in the right direction, and it's you're not hearing any grinding or anything from startup that sounds abnormal. Additionally, again, going into the filter discussion, or if you've got a long lead time component, make sure there's a discussion with the manufacturer that you understand that hey, I have heaters on this, where are the heaters at, and making sure you've got a checklist as far as these are the things I expect on my unit when it gets on site, and having kind of that running checklist. Next slide, please. So, we've got our unit rigged up. We got it off. We had no problems, getting it from the factory. Now we're in operation. One of the big things to note is ice buildup. So I know it gets talked about a lot, but frost versus ice. What we see is you get a little bit of the refrigeration gains with a small frost layer, but ice is the big no-no. Ice builds up, it adds even more weight to that coil, potentially stretches the structure. Can actually hydraulic kind of expand your coil or your fin sheets, and can also affect how your pan's operating. So if you're in a hot gas pan, making sure that you have your pan properly piped up, and you're doing a good once over exclusion with the leaks. The other thing I like to note here is your pans aren't properly trapped and don't have heat tape. What I've seen a lot of the time is actually moisture creeping up out of the pan drain and then back into the unit. So I know it kind of tape dangerous word when you're talking about industrial equipment, but having that heat tape does really make a world of difference for getting that proper moisture out of the evaporator pan and on its way in. Next slide, please. So how does that ice build up on the evaporator? So we have our, infiltration that we get. So typically I see this a lot of the time in a, older environment. So, if you've got a weird building layout or something like that, you have a dock for some reason really close to your freezer and you've got a lot in and out. Making sure you have, those plastic, air curtains or, an actual air curtain or the plastic ones, just preventing the amount of humidity you're getting in that room. I actually had a doomsday scenario that I had sent to me a while ago. I think it was like my first month working for Evapco, but they had basically a hole from their freezer to the outdoors, which was not good in any sense of the word for a freezer. But making sure you're limiting the amount of humidity that can get into that room is kind of the biggest easy fix you can do for limiting the amount of humidity you're getting in there. Additionally, checking your defrost cycle, so monitoring the frequency and intensity of your defrost. I know a lot of time, and I'll go back to it several times, but the operation and maintenance manual will have some guidelines. But don't be afraid to adjust that, or go back to the manufacturer and saying, hey, for this defrost, I think I'm a little bit light, or having those discussions. That's a easy way as far as not having to majorly change your bill of material, but prevent ice buildup on your unit. The other thing is improper coil spacing. So this largely just comes in on the design side, but making sure if you're in a dock environment, you can pack those fins a little bit tighter. Whereas if you're in a freezer, you want to have a little bit greater space to prevent bridging. Next slide, please. So ice often can lead to vibration. So vibration can happen from all sorts of stuff, but what we see a lot of time in ice buildup, and even more than ice damaging the actual coil, splitting things apart, is we see it, particularly affecting the actual, casing or the components on the evaporator outside of the coil. So as ice builds up, it can crack apart fan cylinders. It can, remove, long throw adapters, all kinds of stuff, depending on how your system's set up. So just making sure you have a good ice prevention plan, and then knowing that can often be a leading cause of what leads to the vibration on your unit. Next slide, please.
Jake, I have a question real quick.
Sure.
So, what would you expect for a frost line on the coil before it needs to be defrosted?
I was actually asking a coworker who actually came from the server side. He said a millimeter is what we budget for. Very minimal frost if you can get away with it. Now, speaking candidly, what we have seen is you can get a little bit more frost on there. Frost is, we've seen on very old units that while we want to avoid ice buildup, I've seen some pretty heavily frosted coils, but my official recommendation would be 1 to 2 millimeters of thickness added on.
So 1 to 2 millimeters, and you would expect to try to defrost to get that cleaned off again then.
Yeah, in an optimal scenario, but I know it can vary.
Yeah, so that's quite difficult in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah.
Would fin spacing be more recommended then as far as a larger gap so that you get more airflow and you can have a little bit more ice layer?
Agreed. Yeah. So what I've even seen people do a lot of the time is just do a stagger, so that way they have 0 rows, or like on a 10-row coil they have 2 rows at 2 fins per inch, and 3 rows at 3, and then the next 5 at 4. You can see a lot of the time a fin balance that can then also be a little bit more optimal to decrease that defrost time.
So for contractors, this would be something that they should learn a little bit about fin spacing, but also the facilities, if they're going to have severe infiltration, they may want to look at a wider gap as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would definitely the fin spacing, and then also just looking at where your airflow looks like and minimizing that infiltration in and out of the room. I'm always happy to, if you've got an outlier case where things look really off, we can even, I know other manufacturers do this as well, as you can send them kind of some of your information, and then they can pull and kind of make recommendations if it's, a really old installation or something like that too.
So in a high infiltration area, would, liquid recirc ratio be something to look at as well?
Yeah, that's a good one. I probably have to do a little bit more digging as far as how that affects, frost line. I know in an optimal case, let's say the more you're overfeeding that coil, probably the more quickly you're going to frost because you're just jamming refrigerant kind of through it. So, if you could get into, a DX or a lower recirc, that might be beneficial. But that's a good one. I think I might need to ask some of our gurus what they think as well.
I'll follow up as well. Thank you.
Awesome. Yep. Full. Got it on my notepad. Cool. So now looking at this nightmare photo here, this is what I think everybody hates to see on like a Friday at 4:45. But vibration, especially, whether it be ice or just age of the unit, can oftentimes cause damage, especially in the fan region. So what I've seen is ice buildup can reduce that tip clearance and eventually lead to your fan, hitting your fan cowl and eventually shearing off like this. The other thing is if you can hear it, hitting that fan cowl, hitting around in the evaporator or any kind of abnormal fan noise, that's usually a good recommendation that your bearings could also be likely at the end of their lifespan. So making sure that you properly maintain those bearings makes it definitely helps with preventing any of this fan damage. What I've seen a lot is, that bearing eventually starts to get overheated or, not properly lubricated, gets a little bit of play in the shaft. And then, eventually these fans can start, hitting and then a blade will break off. So ice or oftentimes.
I have another question for you.
Sure.
So the fellows sometimes have to repair these fans. The
Mhm.
rolled edge on the evaporator, where should the fan be set? Are you setting that in the center of that rolled edge or inside the evaporator?
Are you talking the rolled edge on the inside of the
On-
fan or at the tips?
On the rolled edge on the sheet metal of the evaporator,
Yeah.
where the nozzle.
Yeah. From my experience, I believe it should be at the center. You want to kind of have a little bit more tip clearance than you think. Would be my recommendation.
So split the difference of the fan blade in the center of the rolled edge.
Yeah, that's what I've seen from the unfortunate times we've had a couple fan breakages.
Okay.
Great. Next slide, please. Now, I know these are kind of a rarity these days. I can certainly say the amount of centrifugal units I've gotten to look at is in the single digits, but these bearings also, require lubrication and not just centrifugal fans. All fan shafts require, that proper maintenance to make sure your fans are properly in spec. The other thing is, checking the fan belt tension. So just as my recommendation as well for all maintenance is, it's kind of a sliding scale. A lot of operation and maintenance manuals will have, a checklist and a frequency on them. What I'd say is, don't be afraid to, ratchet that up as far as fan belt tensioning or any of those kinds of items on that list, especially, if you're in a processing room where they've got a lot of, stuff flying around, or maybe if you're in a dock, just stick to what the manual says and, play it by ear as far as don't being afraid to adjust that. Next slide. So this one kind of plays into vibration as well. The distributor tubes coming out of a distributor are kind of almost like capillary tubes to a degree. So they're pretty small and often are easy to bend. From my experience, I've actually been to a job site where you heard like a rattling, and we kind of had a funny discussion about it because they were going to get it fixed. But the distributor tube was actually bent upon the hanging of the unit, and it was just one little tube almost rattling up there. So that can be another cause of introducing vibration to your system, but also just checking that you don't see any over crimping or damage to those distributor tubes. I know they kind of look almost like veins going through that coil. So giving those a good once over is also recommended, especially in DX. Well, only in DX applications. Next slide. So this is a one for, I think my boss made this pretty early on in his career, but it's funny because it's even more timely now. So your max allowable working pressure. So knowing what refrigerant you're working with, and that kind of plays into CO2, kind of making it's it's growing in the market. So whether you're working, in a 1750 psi environment or that 200 to 300 range, understanding where your refrigeration system should be at is important to understand, and knowing as far as hey, I'm in CO2 and I'm okay being at these higher pressures, or I need maybe in the design process or when I'm doing a new CO2 DX system, I need that high pressure to get my hot gas, or having those discussions are also important to have. So making sure your unit's properly sized to do hot gas for CO2 versus heavy wall tube and that kind of thing. For ammonia, additionally, it's also important to understand, or if you're ever doing a freon opportunity. Next slide. So this is another good photo. And again, kind of going back to, from my experience, what we've seen sometimes in vibration is, all those, wiring sleeves can be pretty snug up there. But if vibration gets introduced in the system, or if, that wiring isn't optimal, what we've seen is, that wiring can shake loose or, strip a little bit. So, making sure all the wiring is, up to spec, and then that kind of plays into the electric defrost. So with the electric defrost, it's almost like these rods that sit throughout the coil. So they can, expand and contract over the lifetime of the unit, just by a very small degree. But, giving those a check every once in a while and making sure that they're, still sitting in throughout those tube sheets is important to monitor as well. The other thing as well is these are often a long lead time item. So, if you ever encounter a situation where you're doing an install and you're waiting on those electric defrost wires, having those discussions with your manufacturer as far as hey, the unit's going to be all the way over here and it's going to be tough to get to, because these are often finicky to maneuver without bending. Next slide. Cool. So I don't know why I say cool with a photo of a destroyed coil. This is an OEM's worst nightmare, and I'm sure your guys as well. But you want to be monitoring rust and corrosion, especially depending what that moisture is looking like when it's getting on the unit, any kind of chemicals you're using on it. Every manufacturer will have chemical recommendations, but actually, a note I was talking about it with some colleagues today is if you guys go to Cole-Parmer chemical resistance, like just Google that. There's a pretty good website that's one of the first resources that kind of will tell you chemical comparisons and how similar things are to each other. So if you've ever got a question about a cleaner, that's actually a resource we use sometimes to check if it's not specifically stated in the IONM. Again, looking at the unit hangers and the feet, again with ice buildup and the longevity of the unit. What I've seen is, as the industrial market's gotten even more industrial, some hangers and support systems are a little bit lighter for a unit than they are today. So just monitoring what the hanger and the casing situation looks like. From my experience, it's not always the coil. It's, again, more the fan and the casing components that are affected by that ice buildup and vibration first. So also looking at piping supports, just, how's the overall feed in and out of the system. Next slide. This one kind of cracks me up because it makes it seem like I have something against forklift drivers, or that I think forklift drivers are bad drivers. But you do want to have barriers in your refrigeration system to prevent any impact to your evaporator, whether that be someone's got the forks up high when they're driving by, or proper marking throughout the facility. It's always important to have a good plan to prevent the refrigeration system from getting hit by any kind of moving equipment. I know some of the the new age facilities have like AGVs, so having proper path planning, or also just minimizing maybe people walking by your evaporator when it's in a stand or something, and having the ability to mess with it. So whatever you can do to have a good plan as far as how to treat the evaporator from people actually doing the process as well is good to have established. Next slide. So this goes back to my Cole-Parmer website that I recommend. So make sure to check your manufacturer's recommendations for coil cleaners. Verify the wash down capability. I know IP69 is, kind of the cream of the crop. So anything in between that, make sure you're having that discussion, with, your OEM, or just looking through the O&M to establish what's the best practice to, clean your unit. Additionally, looking at the longevity of the unit from a, cleaning perspective, the other thing I recommend is lost it. The other thing I recommend is, keep taking good care of units. Sorry, guys. I thought I had something more wise to say than that, but I think that's my last slide. The other thing I'll say is, I appreciate the opportunity, and yeah.
So, I have another question regarding the cleaning of the coils.
Sure.
In some of the dock applications and warehousing, there's quite a bit of forklift traffic, and the dust gets up into the evaporator fins.
Mhm.
How
Yeah.
much does that affect the efficiency of the evaporator? Is it the same as the ice level? 2 millimeters, and you're
Yeah.
substantially reducing the evaporator?
I would say from a density level, it's not as great of a concern. It's still something you definitely want to be, cleaning. And my recommendation for cleaning that is what I've seen is people just go from the back, the opposite, the fan side, to do that cleaning when they're, spraying down the coil. But from my experience, it's not necessarily as bad as, frost buildup. Just with frost being, it doesn't really flake off as easily. Any other questions?
We don't really have any problems with it defrosting. We don't have any problems with ice buildup, or maybe occasional ice buildup, but what are those minimum monthly checks we should be doing?
Can you repeat that question really quick, ma'am? That's my fault.
That's all good.
I had the microphone muted, so.
Was I need to go somewhere else?
No, you're good.
So those of us who have induced draft evaporators in our cold storage, we're really not, we go by and look at them once a shift, make sure everything's working correctly, but we don't really get up and look at them really quick or really intently. So what's a monthly check on evaporator in the cold storage that we should be making that, we don't have any really other issues with it, that maybe it ices up every once in a while?
Yeah, just kind of going over the Evapco one. The ones I see is monthly, or if you can. This one's more as needed, but looking at your pan strainer, any of the bleed off valves. That's why I pulled up the cooling tower one. Bear with me. But I know most operation and maintenance manuals will typically include a kind of a long and short checklist. Let me get to it here.
Say a maintenance manual is not available.
Yeah. Don't be afraid to reach out, and I can provide maybe a non-manufacturer specific checklist, maybe on like a Word doc. But
Gives you a table as well.
yeah. The other things I would recommend are, if you can do like a listen and check as far as the the fan noise, just making sure that the unit from a distance sounds all right. Other than that, the big ones I go back to are, as you said, ice, bearings, and outside of that, frost pattern. I know, even if a unit is icing up every once in a while, and you're dealing with it just fine, looking at maybe if the frost pattern is abnormal or like changing a little bit, that sometimes could maybe represent debris in the system. I know it's rare, but another good thing to check is just how evenly your evaporator is building that ice up.
Sorry, right, I think it's probably pretty good.
So I can get the slide for you guys, the presentation if you guys like. As far as, maintenance intervals to the evaporators and or condensers, I can get those to you from the manufacturer, just send them to you. That can come through RETA, no problem.
I'm just wondering what should we be looking at?
Well,
What can we head off?
So much.
vibration is a huge thing. I don't know if you're running liquid overfeed or if you're DX. DX superheat is an important thing. If the superheat's not right, you're inefficient. Liquid overfeed, if the expansion valves aren't set right, again, you're not efficient. Defrosting intervals. I mean, I got plants that defrost every 7 days, and I got plants that defrost every 4 hours. So it depends on the infiltration and how the operation operates. Our heat load is from infiltration. It's not from the product. It's from people leaving the doors open, not closing fast enough. A horrible wet room next to a freezer. That type of stuff is what's killing us in cold storage. Shoot, even just the floor heaters. Doors stick to the floor and they don't open properly, and then they don't close properly. All of that stuff matters. And then we end up with stalactites in the freezer. I think all of us have seen that, but it's a team effort to make it happen. And one guy is not going to change that world.
Two. And it's always us fighting production.
Agreed.
We don't know.
Agreed.
Stories like.
So I can definitely get you guys, Shane and I can send you guys maintenance manuals for several different types of evaporators. And you guys can review them and see if you can add anything to it. But what I see in the field is the infiltration is causing vibration, or we have so much ice buildup that the evaporators aren't even effective. And it makes it worse, and we're just blowing humidity and moisture into the freezer. It's getting on the boxes, getting everywhere, and it creates a serious problem.
How do you clean coils in a cold storage environment?
Tarp them.
Is there a way you can do it?
You gotta tarp them. So you make it, you're basically making a room with visqueen. We've had to do that several times with evaporators that are full of ice. You'd have to tarp them, put heaters in there to melt the ice off, but otherwise you'll never get it out. That's why I was talking about forklift dust, because I see it on dock evaporators where they'll actually plug up the fin spacing. That's happening in the freezer too. Maybe not to the extent, because when we're defrosting, moisture is supposed to be washing it off, but it's happening there as well.
We're getting some, but not to the point at which we think it's impacting the airflow, but if you don't do it, it'll eventually.
Someday it's
it'll
gonna
go
happen.
up. Yeah.
Yep, someday it's gonna plug up and it's gonna make your life miserable.
It goes back to just what I said about production, right? You gotta tell them that I gotta take this evaporator out of service for 4 days out of the year. You can't do it, right?
No, you
No,
can't.
I need to take this evaporator to make it serviceable. I gotta take it out of service for 4 days out of the year, do annual maintenance and clean it. It's not happening.
For me, it's not.
That's where we fight, right?
The only
For me,
time it
it's not-
happens is an
yeah.
emergency.
Yeah.
For me, it's not a matter of taking it out of service. For me, it's a matter of, it's in an environment at 0 degrees.
Yeah.
How do you clean that?
Yeah.
So we've built shelters. That's the only way I've ever done it. Is build a shelter around the evaporator. Pardon me?
Don't ship it with hammer.
I'm sorry.
Don't ship that with hammer.
Oh, yeah, don't chip the ice with a hammer. Yeah, that's for sure.
Don't swing a pick at it.
That's for sure.
Yeah, the guy do that.
It's the same thing about the condenser cleaning, right? I mean, it's like, yeah, well, we need to clean the condenser. Well, that means we gotta take 1/3 of, we gotta, shrink production to 2/3 of what we normally do for 2 days so we can clean the condenser. How often do you get management to do that, right? So, it's gotta be done. Otherwise, you're just living at the edge all the time.
It's challenging for all of us.
Yeah.
And the only way we can do it is when it's a chaotic time.
Yep.
You got a problem and then now you're forced, the only thing you can do is take advantage of that. You know, it's gonna be down for a certain amount of time, take advantage of it. But you won't have the manpower, you're gonna have to hire somebody.
Yeah.
Gonna have to hire a contractor, a millwright, or somebody to come help you. Cause you won't have the manpower to fix it yourself.
True.
Jake?
Or, sorry, I got a
Thank you.
question.
Hello?
You got a
Yeah.
question?
Yeah, I have a question. For a dock area where you have like the dust and forklift dust and everything, is it best practice to just use water to clean the coil off, or would you recommend buying some kind of cleaner as well?
We'll send him the PowerPoint. There is recommended cleaners for the evaporators on that PowerPoint.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I guess from your point of view,
You'd ask them, could you use water?
yeah, if your problem
Mhm.
is just free, you can use water, but as far as your annual cleanings, you should use some kind of a antimicrobial, you know, to keep bacteria down, but if it's just debris, I don't see any problem doing it every once in a while.
So do the cleaners lower the freeze point of the water
Yes,
to the
Yes.
point to where it doesn't freeze up?
Yep. Yep.
And then are the cleaners, because you're gonna go to we're gonna go to the drain system, so environmentally, or do we have to collect it?
no, you should be able to put it through your wastewater system. They're gonna be biodegradable. If they're that harsh, they're gonna eat the coils.
But it'll lower the freeze point of the water to where it won't freeze on the coils.
Correct. Correct.
This is a freeze point, there's usually a label on it, and it will tell what temperature it is.
Probably depends on what temperature you're at. Probably depend on what temperature you're at.
And we ran about 0 degrees in the warehouse, so
then
it's pretty cold.
on the cleaner. So, imagine the variance between different cleaners, but I know every time I've cleaned them, we always brought temps up from cooler, you know, but
And bring in the tempo.
it's not gonna happen in cold storage, yeah.
Right. Right, exactly.
Yeah, not gonna happen.
So this was our first virtual. We're gonna get better. It was something new, so we're gonna buy some equipment. We'll get better at that.
I think if they actually just send the PowerPoint beforehand, I should have just took it from you from the get-go.
Yeah.
I think they
It's
just
okay.
provide the PowerPoint, be able to do,
Well, we need to be able to hear these guys too, so.
there's something going on there.
Yeah, whatever venue they should. They should.
You should have been able to Chromecast to the TV.
They should be provided.
Yeah, I hope. We'll figure it out. I don't come here on my off time.
Well,
but-
this guy's.
Yeah, I've heard.
Shane was here.
Bills broke down.
Every other Wednesday we
It was
have
like, for us, hey, we're in this class and figure, oh,
Good for you. So you guys passed your test or you're still doing,
We got one more day of class and I got my test scheduled for Monday. And these guys.
where are you guys proctoring at? Ellensburg?
No, it's here.
Oh,
It's testing center on Tuesday.
oh,
They're
okay.
not CEUs, they're PDHs, but we can provide them to you. I'll get them to you tomorrow.
I was just showing Darren, I was like, I took this test 25 years ago before they actually had a certification. You know, it was before the Caro or the Zero certification.
Yeah.
Year one.
Yeah,
And Permacold put it on in Portland at the
Yeah.
Portland at the food conference one year. That was a number of years ago.
Are you guys going to the
Right,
RETA
yeah.
conference here next month?
You'll send it out, dude?
Yeah, next month.
Next week.
I may.
And David will get you guys.
It would be good for you guys.
Yeah.
Definitely an experience.
It's right at the end of our pepper season, so it's probably better way. I was surprised. Was able to get 3 of us.
Twenty-fourth,
There's 3 days of it.
it's the 20th to the 24th.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and a couple days of classes before then, I think.
Yeah, the Saturday, Sunday before, there's
Saturday,
prep
Sunday,
classes, but
So,
I think half of them are all filled up by now. But you can go check the website, but you've got a running list where you can actually register and get spots, those prep classes and stuff.
So those of you that do want to take Zero or Caro or whatever, Greg Jordan will put on a class for you guys. cost anything.
Thank you.
He's a reader authorized instructor, and he will prep you guys for classes and for the tests if you guys need to. Okay, he's offered that to the chapter.
Say, would he do a review for us? We've done that a couple of
He
times.
has, he will.
Okay.
Send me his contact.
Sure. So he's from Wenatchee Valley College. He's a professor there.
I probably have taken the class with him before. In the future.
Okay, yeah, he's a great guy. Great man.
I got that one actually really class, and here's you go.
Okay. Any other questions? Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Oh, thank you.
Who's coming on Friday?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Busy.
Where is this?
We got, I think, yeah. In fact, finally got this.
I'll be sending you a link for sure.
I'm
I'm gonna send you a link.
Yeah, I
know. I'm gonna send you.
You're one of the guys that I used to employ.
I think I'll tell you something. I wish I would have thought about it.
Yeah.
It's like.
We need
I had no documentation on why I'm something. I figured out the college that was it, but you're gonna.
Tony's,
Anyway, that was.
no, I just, you know.
They're done with
Yep.
They were yeah. I reached out an email once, one I operated 95 years ago when they were.
Oh, you know what?
Built last night.
I don't want to.
I'm assuming you guys are.
Yeah, it's not. So he goes, I went to pick up.
No, that's what they.
I want a brain noise shot.
In fact, I'm being.
I want to
Slowly
slowly.
inherit it. That's why I got that.
Yep, that's gonna be.